Hey, Evonn. Susan, welcome aboard. Thank you. So we're connecting Miss Diamond in the Rough.
Hello. Hey, Martine. Hey, I'm a little nervous. This is weird. How are
Don't be
you?
nervous. Like I told you, it's just a simple girl chit chat like we normally do.
Yeah,
So relax. So nice to see you. Oh my
uh,
God. You
it's
look
been a while.
fabulous.
It's been a while. I'm glad you're doing big things.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. I know like this is your thing, and I like to support people. And you've got a lot of progress. You didn't sit still, and I admire that about you.
Yes, thank you so much. The one thing about me, I make moves, but I move silently. And I do it consistently, but in a silent way. And I do have my reasons for that, you
Understand.
know.
Understandable. Well, it shows. I like it.
Thank you, thank you. So before we get into the actual interview part, I want to take the time to thank everyone who's on the live tonight. Welcome to the Martine Show. We're here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. EST. And the Martine Show basically is where we celebrate people. We celebrate people for who they are, what they have to offer, and what they have to share in terms of their story. It's all about social media awareness, letting people know what your personal brand is and what your personal message is to people around the world because social media is worldwide. Okay. And tonight we have Evonn, who is going to be sharing her intimate personal story with us, which I'm super excited to hear. I've heard it before. Evonn and I have connected a few years back. She was highly picked as one of the speakers at my women's health conference, which is Faces of Uterine Fibroids. And she shared her story there. And from then on, we continued on staying connected. And she's back today to give us an update on herself, her life, her story, where she is, what she's doing, and what she's looking to do. So without further ado, I want to take the time to introduce Miss Evonn. She's known as Diamond in the Rough on Instagram. So here we go. Go ahead, girl.
Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Yvonne. My handle on IG is Diamond in the Rough. Um, Again, I met Martine by accident on purpose on Instagram, and it's been a bit of a ride ever since. She got me to step out and talk about uterine fibroids. Um, Let me just backtrack a little bit. I didn't even know that I had them. I didn't know what they were. My best friend, she mentioned it to me, but I didn't listen. And then, like, throughout the journey, finally, it got so bad. I went to the doctors and they told me. And then from there, it's been like a lot. When I was invited to do your woman's like seminar conference, I guess you could say empowerment,
Mhm.
um, I had a bit of a loss, not due to the fibroids, but that was a hard time to speak up and to speak out. But, by the grace of God, I got through it. And here we are. So you just want me to kind of get into it and everything?
Yeah, you could introduce yourself and then you could get into it. I could ask you questions as well, but you could start off with what you want to start sharing.
Okay, I got a couple. I just had to write some things down. Okay, so maybe
Sure.
about 2015, like I said, I didn't know that I had them. I was throwing something out that was really heavy in the garbage, and that night I went to lay down, and it felt like there was like a ball, like like when I laid on my belly, and it was just like moving around. I convinced myself I had a hernia. Don't ask me how or why. But I didn't know anything, and not to get too personal, but just to be honest, my cycles have always been heavy, but
Yeah.
around 2015, 16, I was popping at least 8 a leave, where I only
Yeah.
need 2. At the time,
Mhm.
was working as a preschool teacher, and that's a get up, sit down job. And it was just like, you get up and you look at the chair and you're like, you got to be kidding me. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no clue. My mood swings were out of this world. I was irritable is not even the word. I hated my job. I was not happy. I didn't realize at the time how much our hormones affect our mood, how much good eating affects our body. I learned it at the seminar.
And it fixed the mood too, girl.
Yeah, it does. And
Yeah.
it was like I was moody. Moody wasn't even the word. So again, between how I was feeling, I would have my cycle, but then before I was supposed to have my cycle, I'm bleeding, and I just didn't know. Then I have my cycle, but I have a different pain, and I couldn't explain it. And I remember one time I was wearing a girdle, and I could have passed out because the way I was sitting down, and wherever the not knowing was a fibroid was, I got nauseous, and I had to leave the movie theater. I remember my pants weren't fitting right, but again, I didn't know. And then it's like the day I found out, I went to the doctors and she pressed on my stomach. She's like, oh, your uterus is sitting up like you're 5 months pregnant. Have you ever been checked for fibroids? I was so angry. I called my best friend. I yelled at her like it was her fault because she had said the word, but I didn't really want to hear it, and I didn't know what that meant. So that was like the awakening. Then I find, well, I didn't have insurance, but whatever. Then I find out, oh, I can get insurance at Planned Parenthood, but I had the wrong insurance. So the wrong insurance, they would do a little and then refer me to another doctor. But because I didn't have the right insurance, I'm sorry, I have a dry cough. Because I didn't have the proper insurance. This was like, I think, preventative from having more kids insurance. So it doesn't cover everything. So now I'm finding, yes, physical, I have fibroids. I go to the doctor. He didn't say, you have the wrong insurance. He just kept postponing my doctor's appointments. But during the time, mind you, I'm irritable. The pain is getting worse. I was on, I think it was 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, and I was on Oxycontin. I do that at my job. So maybe a week in the month, I was okay without the bleeding, but the fibroids bleed. I bleed. I have my cycle. I bleed. It was too much. And then I think I started to be a little bit more open with my best friend about it, and she kind of geared me toward the right insurance, and that worked. And then from there, it kind of started to take, momentum. I didn't know what I was in store for. I just kind of thought I was going to have some time off from work. No, it was pretty scary. I had to have a blood transfusion like that Friday. The surgery was scheduled that Monday. Then they're telling me if I don't get the blood transfusion, I can't have the surgery, and I got to wait, I think they said either 6 or 8 months. It was just a mess. And I'm just like, why do y'all tell me this at the last minute? My best friend, Tiffany, she's on the line. Hey.
Hi. Hi, Tiffany.
And she literally, when I say held my hand every step of the way, she did. I thank God for her, because sometimes I'm stubborn, and we always say, self-care is the best care, but I didn't care. Like, pain will push you. And that's really what I was going through. A lot of pain, a lot of emotional stuff, and then the physical stuff. And all together, it was enough to push my butt to the doctors and get it going. They went to take out, well, rewind. When I went to the specialist, he basically was talking about a myomectomy.
Yes.
Not his first recommendation. He wanted to remove my uterus. At the time, I said, well.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Sorry about the cough.
It's okay.
I think he was about 12, maybe even 11. And I didn't think about having any more kids. To me, I was one and done. So I was like, all right, whatever, as long as I'm not in pain and bleeding. But then I had came across something on Instagram where they were talking about doing uterus implants for, I guess I want to be very sensitive when I say this, like, I guess, transgendered men that were now living as women and had the autonomy or what have you for women. And they were going to do this uterine implant for them so they could bear children. And I've never been so angry, because my question was, where
Mm.
they get the uterus from, or
Mm.
what is it up for, like where are we getting all this from? So
Mm-hmm.
when the doctor had recommended that, I went off. They had to call security, because there was just some, I want to be honest, but I lost my shit, because you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
take something from me, but where can he get it from or she get it from? And then where's mine? Even if I don't want to have kids, this is mine. Like, this is mine. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
Got through that.
I want to highlight on that. This is an
Yeah.
interesting point, and I want to interject because um, I need people to understand. Like, my personal story started from the time I was 19 years old with the uterine fibroids. That's when I was diagnosed. Okay, and when I was diagnosed at the age of 19 years old, I was in a lot of pain, a lot of agony. I really didn't know exactly what was going on. I was diagnosed with that. And the first recommendation from a women doctor was basically just to get a hysterectomy, okay, at 19 years old. And I'm going to share this part of the story so that I can piggyback on everything that you just shared, so people to understand and know that there is a business behind every healthcare industry. Okay. A business on top of another business, underground business, if you understand what I'm saying. All
Mm.
right. So imagine me being 19 years old. I basically just started like college. Okay. I was not like I was in an established relationship or anything. Like, I don't know what my whereabouts are. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And you're telling me, in order to alleviate my pain, just rip it all out, and that's it. That didn't just like resonate with me. And then plus I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm my I'm the only child on both of my parents' side. That's number one. Number two, yeah, I'm a girl, and I'm the first child in terms of generation. I'm the first of my generation on both sides. Like, I don't have any siblings. If I get a hysterectomy, like, where does that put me, my life, my family, my generation? Like, what does that do for me? And that's just the way that I always process things, thank God. So right then and there, I was just like, something is just not right with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I proceeded and I continued going on to several different doctors. Mind you, all the doctors that I saw for years, they were all women. And they were all telling me the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And I said to myself, there's something that's not right here, you know, because they kept saying, oh, the longer you go into it, if they're not bothering you, don't bother them. But
Mm.
the longer you go into it, the more they bother you, then that becomes a problem. Then it deforms your uterus. Then you go through a lot of different issues and so on and so forth. You might as well take it out and all that stuff. So as I was doing my personal research, I came to find out that when you take it upon yourself to make a decision to remove something out of your body that is most necessary, you open yourself up to other problems, okay? Which is other conditions could turn into other diseases. That was number one. Number two, I was just like, I don't understand why the only solution is to just take it all out. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Long story short, my journey went on for 21 years because I just refused to just make the decision that they told me. And then finally, I was blessed to connect with a doctor. Now, I went aside from everything that I was used to, everything that I was comfortable with. Like you said, pain puts you out, brings you out of your comfort zone. It will push you. And it pushed me to go see a male doctor. And
Mm.
when I went to that doctor, he was just like, who in the world is your doctor? Who in the world have you been seeing? Like, seriously. Because by the time I got to him, I was in a deplorable condition. And he was just like, listen, he listened to my story from A to Z. It was the first time that I was actually at a doctor's office for so long. He listened to everything I had to say. And he says, just listen to what I have to say to you. I can help you. I can help you alleviate all of this that you're going through, but you have to follow me and do exactly what I tell you to do. Because right now, where you are in that state, you're in critical condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay. So I did everything that he told me to do. And he says that I'm gonna grant you the myomectomy, which is basically the removal of the actual tumors. And he goes, you don't have to remove your uterus. He goes, anybody who had told you that, basically they're telling you that because that's the easiest route for them. And that is the route that makes them make money. And me, I'm in healthcare administration. I'm on the insurance side. I already had researched all of that stuff based on the research that I was already doing. Okay. So I already knew what was medically necessary. I already knew the amount of things cost. I already knew the hospital stay. I already knew about the medications. I already knew about everything because I studied that in school. So you couldn't tell me otherwise. Right. And I already knew the doctor's language. So by the time I got to that doctor, like I was so equipped, and that doctor spoke to me like I was his colleague because he understood that I was on the same level as him. Okay. Which the other doctors didn't have the time to even get into that, you know? So I love the fact that how you shared your part of your story, and now that I'm sharing mine, and there's so many similarities, and I'm sure there are a lot of women who have gone through this, especially women of color, okay? And it's so important that we're actually highlighting this on Black History Month by coincidence. You know what I'm saying? It all comes out perfect because a lot of our women, Black women, minorities, have been put in the position to have basically hysterectomies, have things removed unnecessarily.
Yes. And with history, and if you want to talk about racism and just how as Black women we're viewed, the stereotypical we just push out babies, the stereotypical we're not married, the stereotypical we're on welfare, the stereotypical we don't like we have multiple children. That's not everybody's
situation.
And you can't be mundane and just be like, oh, have hysterectomy, because granted I was older than 19, but up until my friend had said that word, I didn't know what the hell a fibroid was. Like when they said tumor, I started freaking out. She's like, Evonn, it's a non-cancerous tumor.
Cancerous tumor, exactly.
What's tumor? What does that mean? What does that mean? And mind you, I never wanted to go. I was doing this boot camp thing, and it was every Saturday for like of the month. And this guy, when I tell you he worked me, but whew, mind you, your uterus is a muscle. It contracts.
Absolutely. And it expands and it could contract.
So
yeah,
I'm working my body, which I wasn't used to doing. My main thing was my stomach, and I didn't know I had the fibroids. Now, had I known, it wasn't just a simple, oh, just, do some crunches, get your core strength. There was an internal issue. There was an internal issue. And not to get too spiritual, but if you want to rewind it back, I had visited a former friend's church, and I remember the pastor coming up to me, touching my stomach, and amongst other things she said, you've been struggling with something for so long. I'm thinking she's talking about emotional pain. And when she placed her hand on my stomach, she, I guess you could say, internalized what I was feeling in the spiritual way. She started crying. She started prophesying. She started praying. I did not know, if you want to get technical, what she saw, what she felt. And looking back, I have to attribute that to, I guess you could say, the spiritual, because for her, it was like, you have this internal pain. You got this stuff going inside. You've been dealing with this for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm hurt, not even knowing she was talking about the fibroid.
Yeah. But that's one thing about this conversation. I've noticed from being in the game of awareness, where people try to refrain from correlating it with spirituality, but trust and believe spirituality is at the center of this
Relative.
whole condition,
It's all
okay?
relative.
Because once you get the awareness about the whole fibroid situation, where it makes you turn into holistics, and
Mm-hmm.
basically it makes you think about what you're putting in your system. Like, basically, like for me, I had to recondition myself, adapt to a brand new lifestyle where I had to cut out little by little things that I was used to eating, so in terms of like consuming lump sums amount of sugar, like white bread, pasta, pizza, processed foods, all that stuff, microwavable stuff. Like, I had to pull back, pull back, pull back, whole milk, pull back, substitute, you know, all these things. And those are all things, mind you, that I love. Drinking coffee
Same
with
here.
white sugar, pull
Totally.
back, you know, to
Because
the
it's
point where I had to eliminate.
because even as I don't want to say as women, but I eat my feelings. I mean, I'm not the only one, but literally what you're eating is feeding the thing that's kind of internally taking you out. And if you want to get spiritual, just think about it. You have to deal with what's going on the inside. So the tumor just, and if you want to get real spiritual, it served no purpose. It's taking from you.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely. Because you're being drained. Okay. It's literally these tumors. What they do is suck on your blood.
mm,
Okay. That's why you got to get the blood transfusion. I had to get a
mm,
blood transfusion before my surgery. And the thing about it, I operated, I don't even know. Like, a lot of times, I've had people in the medical field would ask me when they would meet me, like, for speak outs, like, how did you function? Like, how did you go to school? How did you even graduate? Like, I was like, it was hard. Because there's times I could not even think straight. Like, my brain was fogged. Okay.
emotionally, you
But like, when it came to things that I really had to utilize my brain for, like math, geometry, when you think about physics and all that stuff. I remember when I was in pharmacology class in my healthcare administration degree, I was just like, ah. But what got me was that I loved that class. And
mm,
thank God I took that field, because that is the field that helped me throughout my whole process of bringing awareness
right,
to this whole uterine fibroid condition. Like, because of what I studied, what I learned, and what I grasped, I was able to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to take this medication that you're prescribing me because I know what it does and I don't need that. You know what I mean? And I could be confident about that. So they're like, okay, but no,
right,
because I
right,
was in so much pain where some doctors literally had prescribed me medication that was for a cancer patient,
right, right.
and how did I know that? Because
You
I
were
took pharmacology and I was able to be like, I don't think so. I know I'm in pain. I know I'm complaining about it, but let me try to see, like, what are the alternatives. And one thing about the medical field is that they're not here to give you the alternatives. That's not their job. You can't get mad at them for that. You know what I mean? Because they did not study that. So that's why you have to seek the correct professionals. By all means, we're not cutting out the medical field. We're not cutting out doctors. We're not talking bad about them, because you need everybody and there's a purpose for everybody.
right.
However, when you are told that this is the only route for you to go, and lo and behold, within your mind, body, and soul, that there may be a possibility that you may find another route, once your intuition, that instinct says,
Mm-hmm.
let me think about it, or let me research. Once it gets to you, you gotta fulfill that,
Right.
because it's gonna keep hitting you until the break of dawn. So you have to fulfill that. And that is something that helps a lot, when it comes to the whole condition, spirituality, and all that stuff. And that's why you got to go look at, medical practitioners that, are in alternative medicine. And that's what they're there for.
I didn't, if I
Yeah.
hadn't seen that one IG post and if I didn't let my anger kind of like, that's one time I'm glad I got angry enough. Like, cause like I said, I didn't know, I wasn't thinking about kids. I wasn't with anyone, but it's just like a child. It's like, you're not going to take something from me that's mine. Yes, it's hurting me. I don't really know what not having my uterus means, but it's bad, but it's still mine. You know what I'm saying? After the flip out, the next appointment, he's like, or we could look into a myomectomy. And I still didn't know what that meant. Um, he explained it. It was a little
Hmm.
gross, you know, but I understood what he was saying. And then the fear was, well, if we can't do it that way, because one of them was, let me show you. So when I went in to get 5 removed that they could see. There was one that was massive. And I remember being at my job once and I was talking to my boss and I went back to my classroom and then I was in my room. And when I tell you, it felt like I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I remember telling him like, I was like, it's not a period pain. It's just something's on my back. It's my back. It's my back. She takes me to the
Yeah.
hospital and I explained, 5 words, da da da. But I didn't know the size of it. So at the when I figured, not when I figured out, I don't remember what appointment I had, but at some point I realized the size of it. The biggest one was the size of this,
Right. The circumference of that. Yeah.
and they were
You have all sizes.
right. They was
Yeah.
like 5. They ended up taking out, I believe 12. So small, big, little, and that was still hard. So then I did the worst thing possible. I Googled a fibroid, and I was like, "Look, you have to
So
be
see what they look like in the picture. Yeah.
you." And it was really weird because and now you're not alone, but you're looking at these masses of flesh, but not women. You understand?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They
it was,
look like demons for real.
and it was weird. Is like maybe some years ago, someone I used to be friends with, she had introduced me to this lady, and the lady was like, "Yeah, I had this thing they had to remove. It had teeth and hair," and I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, I call it my little monster," not
Some
real
do.
because of hormones. I
Yes. Yes.
that's a it's not a strange thing, but it's very weird how the same thing that you have, you're creating
Yeah.
inside your
Yeah.
body, but there's nothing to get absorb it, or it's not functional, and it's legit once again
Right.
hurting you. I mean, women, we have our menstruals. It's to bring life, if you will, but
Yes.
it's still a process. It's and we go
Yeah.
through this every month, and then on top of that, you have these other uterine issues. It's like you want to say it's not fair, but this, it's just being educated as a woman, but we're educated as women, but we were young girls first. And like, I don't even know
Mhm.
how long I remember having bad, menstruals growing up, but never had I heard
I
that
mean,
before.
I'm going to tell you, I love the fact that you were saying that, being educated as a woman is one thing, but we're also young girls first. And that was really my issue when I got to the point where I finally got to the point of solution, with this whole fibroid situation. My thing was that, I was 19 years old. I had, by the time, well, first of all, by the time I had my first meds, I was like 11 years old. So my great grandmother was there, my grandmother was there, my mom was there, and they didn't know any better. The only thing they pretty much knew, like, oh, you're having pain. It was literally go to the medicine cabinet and get the ibuprofen. Go to the medicine cabinet and get the estrogen. Go to the medicine cabinet and get the Advil. Meanwhile, you got no business having to even put that stuff in your system. Okay.
Liver, poor liver.
All right.
Kid.
That's number one. All right. The second thing is, okay, they gave you tea, but then at the same time, what herbs exactly were you utilizing? You don't know. You're a kid. They're just giving it to you. They don't even really know at times because they just know that, oh, this is good for you. But what is it? Can they explain to it? No. So that's where the lack of education starts from, unfortunately,
Right.
not to knock anybody's, family down, but coming from my perspective, hey, it is what it is. So all of this stuff that I had to learn about herbs and learning about, what to put in my system that's making it work, like do the substitution from all this sugar, starch and carbohydrates to fruits and vegetables, like that is something that I learned along the way. And then as I learned it along the way, then I'm helping educating the ones that are left, like my mom and everybody else, my cousins, they're saying that, let's make the switch and like change this cooking style.
But that's
So
hard.
now, of course, in my household, we eat more veggies than anything. It's the normal thing. But you still have some people who just be like, oh, you guys got greens today? You know?
And
Yeah,
I'm
but we still
understanding
got,
why.
we still have meat, we still have chicken, we still have fish, we still, there's so many different things. We got macaroni, plantains, this, that. But they're like, oh, you got cut beets and you got green peas and all that. Like,
But it's to help you.
that's what's good for you.
My other good friend, I was explaining to her mom about them, and she was like, yeah, you can't have the white rice. You can't have the noodles. You can't have, and I'm like, what I'm supposed to eat? Air. And then she killed me when she said, you have to stop eating chicken. I'm like, what? She said, if it's
Yeah.
not like organic, she said they give it hormones. And if I grew up on chicken because it's cheap, it you can fry it, bake it, roast it. It is what it is. So now it's like what you're consuming is kind of consuming you. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
it's hard, any culture. But I know for Black people, sometimes it's hard for us to change how we eat. It's a cultural thing. It's not just we eat
Yes.
bad because we want to. This is what we know. You know what I'm saying? It gets, I don't want to say it's part of our culture, but it's just hard to change eating habits, period. You get that dopamine effect when you eat that burger and them fries, you know what I'm saying? And then you feel bad because you really shouldn't have, or your body literally is sick from it. And it's like, dang, you know what I'm saying? Like it's more, it's a mental thing. But
Yeah.
when you have to change, you have to change. It's either you or what you're consuming, even if it's, not food or what have you. I just
I
want to,
mean,
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I just want to fast forward a little bit. So had the surgery. Um, yeah, that was an ordeal. But after a while, I started to feel better. My stomach seemed to get a little flatter. Um, I could wear my Go Get 'em jeans again. I was feeling pretty darn good. Um, then I met someone. Ugh, that was weird. They were talking about kids, and I'm like, and then lo and behold, ta-da! I find out I'm pregnant. 13 years later from the first one. So I was excited, but I was nervous. And my number 2 child. Then I find out because of the time I had the surgery and the time I became pregnant, my uterus was not strong at all. There's no way I could have pushed. So they said a C-section. I'm like, a what? And
Yeah,
it,
but normally after you have a surgery like that, you have to have a C-section
but
regardless. So
couldn't even, my pride was like, man, I push out babies. That's what I do. Even though it was only one. But it just made me
yeah,
feel like once again, somebody's taking something from me that I, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, how bad could it be? And my best friend can contest to this. I kept saying, well, what's going to happen if I don't show up? What's the worst thing that can happen? She's also very articulate and educated in the healthcare field. She said, well, you could bust your uterus and die. And I'm like, what? And so the day of, I kept saying, what they going to do? Send the cops after me? Like, this was a real thing. And even up until then, I ended up being on bed rest. It was quite the ride. I
right.
had him. Then about a year later, I find out I'm pregnant again. And I'm like, wait a minute. Mind you, I'm all late in my 30s. All late in my 30s. All late in my 30s. I'm just like, I don't even know how this is going to work. I ended up miscarrying. It was not due to the fibroids. But with my second son, they couldn't even get the ultrasound good because of the fibroids. It was like the way they explained it, it was like a bounce back, or I don't want to say an echo, but that's how she explained it. Like I could never see
Mm-hmm.
my face. And then I
Oh,
was
okay.
fibroids because they were still like I still had some, but they were like, they're small, don't worry.
Oh, okay. It was probably covering.
Right, right.
Yeah. Hmm.
What have you. So I lost that one. And right before I lost that one, that's when you had because you contacted me about the conference, and
This.
I'm yeah,
Yeah.
on cloud nine. And then when you asked me again, and I was like, yeah, it was hard because I got to talk about something, and I was kind of mourning and grieving, but you were very positive. My best friend was very positive. Like, it wasn't due to the fibroids, but I just kind of felt like I didn't want to, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to, I didn't want to do it. I just
Yeah.
angry, you know, I didn't know how to explain, like, hey, lots of baby, get your fibroids checked out, or actually, you know, ask your doctor about fibroids. It was a lot. Then I got used
Hmm.
to two, and then I had another kid, and I was like, wait a minute, like, okay, all right, okay, let me get through it. Still have fibroids, did have a C-section, but they weren't agitated in a sense or bothered by the pregnancy. So now I'm a mom of three, and I did change some eating habits, not all, but I know why it's important to change the eating habits, you know, like you said, and I'm working on it. Just me and soda
No,
for
it's fine. You
kids.
know, I
No,
I tell people this all the time. Don't feel guilty about your all your eating habits because it's basically you. Like me, there are a lot of things I don't eat anymore. And especially like with now with COVID and all that, like I basically don't eat out at all. I don't even order. Like I'm not doing any deliveries, whatever. I'm cooking literally. And I love to cook. My mom cooks, my cousin cooks, there's three of us in the house. We're always doing it's either one or the other. On Sundays, my mom and I we cook together. That's our, time and we just do our thing. And we do like a few dishes that can last for like at least 3 days.
okay,
So that's just the thing, and we choose to do it the healthy way, but at the same time, like we still eat chicken. It's how you cook it. Like us, we prepare our how do you call it, our spices from the blender, where we actually get scallions, we get fresh garlic, everything is fresh. We have parsley, put it all together in the blender.
right,
You put a little garlic juice or put lemon juice and you blend it all together. That's how we season. We don't do all this powder stuff because all
right.
this powder stuff has chemicals within it as well because it has to be preserved for the shelf life.
Mm,
Those are all the things that you have to be mindful of when it comes to your cooking because the majority of things out there have to be preserved. They have to have preservatives in there because how they're going to sell it. It has to be prepared for the whole shelf life so it doesn't go bad in due time before it's actually bought,
right,
you know? But it's those preservatives, the things that you pretty much, when you read the label, don't know what the heck it is. That's what's actually contributing to the issues that we're talking about. And it's
right.
not only the fibroids, it's a lot of women issues. And now it's turning into a lot of men issues because a lot of men are having a lot of prostate issues, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Men reproductive system issues are real, you
Mm-hmm.
know? When like there's some men, they reach a certain age and they think that, oh, like they have a personal issue, it's not really working there.
Right,
What you've been consuming for the past few years.
right,
It's the
right,
same thing for women,
right.
you know? It's the same thing for women,
Well, and
So it's just, we got to be mindful.
mindful and educated. I mean, I know school is school, and I guess if you've never gone through something, you don't try to help another or speak about it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I remember at my job in the maybe about last 2 something years, it was a woman, Caucasian, and I was visiting my son, and she was like, "Oh, he's so cute," and I'm like, "Yeah, he's a handful," and she's like, "I don't have any kids because I have fibroids," and I'm like, "What?" And not to say it was like a myth, but I'm like, I know she was like probably the first white woman that I had met that even admitted it. I know they're out there. I just don't know. They don't, you know what I mean? And it was weird. And she was like, I don't want the surgery. I don't like the pain, but we're just going to pray and we're going to wait. Speed that up. She ended up having a baby. But
Mm.
even before that, it was just that, like, I don't want to say like an unspoken thing, but it kind of is that unspoken, no one really goes around, oh yeah, I had fibroid removal because I think we don't, I think if we look at it, it's a big thing. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is.
Had, I mean, you don't, well, as far as I know, I didn't have my first OB, was not OBGYN, but like my first gyno till I was after 18. I was
Mm-hmm.
sexually active. So what was the point
Yeah.
of going? And if I didn't know there was an issue, why would they look for them? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now I feel like I'm a lot educated. I have no problem talking about it. But the sad thing is, like you said, you were a child and I was a child, and there's so many other young girls and they're in pain, but it's just like, oh, it's a period. Go take some Midol. I can't take Midol.
Yeah.
Pop
I
them out.
mean, it's the same thing. You get your mens the first time and they're like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, you got it? Okay, just go put this on. That's
Yeah,
it. There's no talk.
yeah,
There's no like comfort or whatever. I mean, even like you said, you have the same, you kind of have the same home education that I had,
yeah,
where you're saying, well, you're very young. What was the point of you going to a gynecologist because you were not sexually active? It's not only about that, it's women's
right.
health.
And you can't
Okay.
go. How was I supposed to know? I didn't know. Like I didn't know. I might have heard of a gyno, but not for that. I didn't know. To me, in my head, it's like when you start having sex, it's when you go. I wasn't, so why would I go? But let's just say they could have, not say caught it, but well, are you feeling discomfort here? And there's other uterine issues that I learned so much from your seminar. I learned so much from your seminar.
Thank
Um,
you so much.
Sidebar, I just saw Instagram where they had men. Remember the sanitary napkins that you sell? They were selling,
Yeah.
and that was very strange to me. And the way that they broke it down, I'm like, and these are black men. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
educated, because you're gonna have a wife and a daughter one day, and it's not just,
Yes.
oh, you're on the rack. No, this the your menstrual alone is a lot.
And I still use those napkins till today. That's all I use. Since the time that you saw me promote them
Right,
from years ago, I still
right,
use them today. Got
right.
absolutely no issue at all, as opposed to what's on the market full of chemicals.
True, true.
It's full
Doctor
of
was
bleach.
telling it, but he was like, as a male, he said he didn't even know what women go through. He said, I can't physically feel it. He said, but just the breakdown, or I guess you could say like the science or the mathematics, like we'll have this much, how can I put it? Liquid. He's like, when he first was, I guess, learning about it, he was like, it turned me off. It was like, ugh. But he's like,
Yeah.
but then I look at my wife and this is what she's going through. Like, it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying women should get like a pass, but when you're dealing with fibroids, or as I learned from you, endometriosis, and I met a few women that have suffered from that. That's a whole nother topic,
Yeah.
and
And unfortunately for me, I had a little bit of everything.
yeah,
My main issue was the fibroids. However, I had endometriosis, but it was minor. And then at the very end, by the time I reached that doctor, I had adenomyosis, which was the worst ever. So adenomyosis basically is the uterus is totally deformed,
oh,
and the only condition, like the only way they'll tell you is that you got to remove everything.
yeah,
And my condition, they didn't do that. What they did is that I got the myomectomy. They they cleaned out my uterus, reformed it, put it back, and had me healed. You know,
okay,
and that is something that can be done as long as you meet the doctor who's willing to do it. And that's it. But you got to speak up.
right.
It's
Don't
not
know,
about it's not a matter of what they want to do to you or
right.
what you're going to let them do to you. It's a matter of what your desire is. What do you want?
But if you don't,
This is your life.
but if you don't know, how will you, like, you went to different doctors. I only had the one. My issue was even the issue with insurance. Like, they don't tell you, you have the wrong insurance. They can say, oh, well, this appointment is going to be scheduled next time. Like, they just kept passing me off, and nobody, I didn't know. Young girls, young women, we just need to be more educated. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, you're not gonna hear about that in school. If you don't go to the,
No.
if you don't have insurance, if you don't know someone that had it, if you don't have insurance, that's the first thing. You're literally asked out. Like, they're not touching you.
pretty much. But you could get insurance. You could get emergency insurance.
True,
You
but
know.
some young people or young adults, that's for some of us, that's like the last thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, if you're not informed, you don't know, then you don't know what to ask for. And that's how the healthcare industry is. And that's the reason why you have those who kind of like are on the one up, and you have those who are just losing because they don't know what to ask for. And that's an issue all around. And it has to do also with, like I said, the previous role models that we have.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know much. They didn't get to be more informed, I would say, to actually share with us, to know exactly what the pros and cons are and what to ask for. It's the same thing with men. They go through their issues also. They have, they go, so to speak, they go through their reproductive thing, and you kind of just don't have a real talk with them. It's kind of like, oh, they just become a pimple face for a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like a deep voice and that's it. No, there are a lot of issues that you got to talk about, because they have their own personal issues, and it's even worse for them,
Right, because
because
it's so taboo that they
at least
don't.
we're talking about it. We got a show going on where we could, they ain't talk about nothing.
Mm.
Okay. And a lot of men don't even want to talk about that, because it's not something that men get into a conversation regularly about
Right,
anyway.
right. No, I have 3 boys. Trust me, I can't say, oh, go to your dad, because not trying to be funny. Their dads, they don't, that conversation was never had with their dad. So it's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Somebody said it's taboo. Absolutely. 100%. All these we're talking about is taboo topics.
yeah,
Okay.
right. But they can be spoken on, because they can be like, you can be educated from the rip, and then you kind of know how your body, how your body works. Did you have any
Yeah.
for me, or?
Um, so many different things that we're talking about all together.
I'm all over.
But
I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. It's fine, because I always like for not this to be like me putting down on you, asking you questions, more like just a regular conversation. So it's all good all together. My thing is this: now that you have come to the point where you've had gotten all this information, and you're pretty much well into yourself, doing your own thing. Where do you see yourself moving forward? Like, I know you wanted to do a podcast. Um, you have a lot of different things that you have in mind. So share that with us.
Well, 2020 was truly the season of the entrepreneurs. If you knew how to hustle, this was your time. And
Mm-hmm.
2020 also let a lot of us know that, like, not to say don't sit idle, but if this is the end, do it, because tomorrow legit is not promised. And for me in 2021, I just started my podcast. I reached out to you, which was hard as heck to ask you. And
Why?
because I'm not a person that likes to ask for help. I've been sitting, and I do love to talk, you know. Um, and I like good conversations. I like that I
But it
can,
was funny though. I noticed that you were nervous from you were texting me, and
yeah,
I was just like,
because
"Girl,
I
I'm
was
happy for you."
like, I also, like, I'm a person where, like, if I'm doing something, it's like I don't want anyone to think that, like, I'm copying or following in that sense. And this, when I say that, it's like, I might want to do something, but that might not be my route. So let me just try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. My problem is I'll think about it, and that's it. I don't step out. So I said I got to promise myself I have to do more. If this is the end, Evonn, like, you gonna die a punk? No, okay, so do it. And I'm like, all right. And when you said, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it really touched my heart, and there was no apprehension with it. What I'm sorry, my son is in the other room battle rapping with the mirror, and he is so loud right now. I'm
It's
about to shoot
okay.
him a text and be like,
We can't hear him though.
his voice is deep, and I hear, like, and I'm like, what? But that's what I want to do. And on a podcast, like, I have a book I got about 12 good topics that I want to discuss that are dear and near to me. And this is actually one of them. So I have to thank God for meeting you. Let's see. The year that you asked me, I was asked to do 2 more conferences, but I got pregnant and I couldn't travel. So you were the only
Oh.
one of the 3 that I was actually like able to do. And I was excited at first. And then I had the loss and I'm like, come on. But my best friend, she's always like, well, you still got to do it. And she came with me and I was so mad at her, but she pushes me, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
there's a lot of people in my life that have been positive and were like, Evonn, you know, you can. And it's basically my fear, but I'm learning. So even me saying, hey, the podcast, that was like 100, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a lot. And then even
Mhm.
then, and that's why I could have done it last week, but I chickened out and I made an excuse. And I kind of felt like you knew it, but then you were like, I'm gonna give her time. Then you were like, so when are we gonna do it? And I was like, oh, I couldn't lie to you. And then my best friend, she's always like, what are you doing? I'm like, so that push from positive women, that push of if you fail, what's the worst that could happen? You still learn. Like it's registering. So
Mhm.
thank you for giving me, you know, that opportunity and you're sticking with me. And again, I really thank God for what he's doing with you because I know your life's not easy.
Oh
Um,
no, Carl.
you didn't
No,
share
it's
half,
not.
you didn't even share half of in this, like the hour you couldn't cram in. I'll never forget your testimony that day and what you said. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I might have came to speak, but I learned a lot. And I don't know you from the beginning, but from that point to this point, you know, I know due to COVID, a lot of stuff you're not able to, you know,
Mhm.
do. But technically, you're still doing the same thing, just a little bit, like you said, a little bit more intimate. And then you know, open up the road to different genres. I'm like, okay. Usually at this time, I'm putting my kids to bed. That's why I can't get on the live, you know.
Okay.
But I prayed to God. I was like, Lord, I want to do it. Can you help me? And in a weird way, He did. My kids are probably eating cake and ice cream in the kitchen, living room, but it's quiet and I'm able to talk. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. And
Well,
when I see you doing your
like I
thing,
always say,
I will invest in you and all that good stuff because I want to see you do what you're supposed to do as well.
thank you so much, Beyond Blessed for Life. I appreciate that. Like I said, um, I'm the type of person where I tell everybody this. Once you meet me, that's it. We don't have to be in constant conversation. Like, we don't have to be like hello every day because that's just not me. Because
Right.
I'm so busy, But I never forget anybody. Never. I always remember you. It could be like, I don't know, we don't have to be in direct contact, but
Right.
once I know you, you know? And when we reconnect into live conversation again, it's just basically a reconnection. It's not like we're restarting. It's just continuation for me. And it's always been like that. And you have experienced that.
Right.
Um, I'm kind and courteous to everybody, always helpful and stuff. But that's who I am. That's where I come from. It stems from me and my family. My mother is that way. My grandmother was that way. My great grandmother was that way. I come from leadership, basically, so that's what I deliver, you
It sure.
know. Um, yeah. And some people don't understand it though, but when it's innate, you know, and you can't go beside it. There was a time where honestly, I I didn't want to like I didn't think about anything like this. Like you were saying, I was pushed into this direction based on my personal issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, women empowerment. That's basically my platform as an author, and that's how I started. So I came to that. I started with sharing my personal story, many different things, and one thing led to another, and now they call me like the queen of the fibroid story because I went through it, I overcame, and the route that I think that was designed for me to be on was not the route that God put me on, you
Right.
know, and it's just like a whole diverted type of situation, but I'm here. I'm here, and I'm glad that you're doing your podcast. And I can't wait to listen to your podcast. Because I know you have a lot to say.
Yes, yes, always, always. And it's like I just got to get my confidence up, but I think also I think my confidence will get up when I just get out there. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of, what is it, back to the wind, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Just go.
Mhm.
And I know that's where God is kind of pushing me. I try to act like I don't hear it, or I don't see it, or when someone says it, I just kind of dismiss it. But I don't know, when I meet people like you, it's in my head, it's like it's possible. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful for that. So I see you, girl.
And I see you too.
I see
And
you.
thank you so much. I want to tell everybody how you gifted me the opportunity for me to be featured on Black Queens Movement. And I thought that was just like one of the best Christmas gifts ever that I ever gotten. Like, that was my 2020 Christmas gift from Miss Diamond in the Rough here, Evonn. And I was so touched. I really was. Like,
Tell you thank you. Like you said, when God puts someone in your path, you know it. And if
yeah.
you're trying to divert, he'll be like, So a few times, you'll call me out here or there, or you'll say, hey, and I'm like, hey, and that's it. But that day when I saw that post, I'm telling you, it wasn't like I had to go down a Rolodex of people. It was like, do you know? And I'm like, wait, I can. And I just saw it, and I was, and you see the boldness when I'm like, look, I'm gonna let you pick what you're gonna pick, but you know what I'm saying? Like that, when I'm blessed to be able to be a blessing for others, I have to listen. And you're the same way. You see what
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have to ask me to come to the conference at all. And even though I didn't want to come, my best friend wasn't gonna let me punk out. Today she wasn't going. She been texting me all day. You ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm nervous. But she's more excited about this than I am, because I want to see you win. She wants to see me win. I know she's to me, she's already a winner. Like, she sent me something today, and it was just like something about like, through your pain comes your purpose. And if fibroids ain't nothing but pain, but look where you are. Look what you've
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that conference, a few women were talking of all different,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. I hate this COVID thing, because I think from that time to this time, you would have like physically reached so many people, but just keep doing this, because this matters just the same. It matters.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad that, first of all, for 2020, the direction that I was put on was a little different, because from before, like, my journey as an author really started in 2015. And my first book was, I was part of a women empowerment program where I shared my personal story, which is called Becoming Natural. That was my first story. So that's how I fell into the whole authorship game, and then from one anthology to another, I ended up participating in a few, and then I created my own, which is Faces of Uterine Fibroids. So when I came out with that, like, from the time that I started my authorship, I've always been communicating with women, because everything's about women empowerment. But for 2020, God was like, okay, girl, I know you're always talking about women. It's always about women, sisterhood, and all that. But the men need to hear you out too,
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know, like, what the heck? I didn't know how to reach out and do that. But lo and behold, long story short, I was led to the Rizzle app, which I talk about through this here. And that's how I connected with a whole bunch of other people. Like, I didn't know anybody there. They didn't know me, but we all connected. And I became a source of inspiration instantly, through creating videos. And, God wanted me to start doing videos. They were like, you need to become more and more visible. And that was another challenge for me as well. It wasn't easy, but now it's kind of like second nature. But it was not easy at all. So one thing led to another, and then I started just like, oh, let me see if I could create something on Instagram, because when they're pushing you, they're pushing you. Your God is pushing you. Your spirit guides are pushing you. Everybody's like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, let me start off with this show. Let me start to celebrate people, promote people. Let's talk about social media awareness, and then it just started to develop.
Well, I'm
And
glad.
it started to develop. So now I'm at a point where I was only communicating with people from that app to bring them to Instagram. And now God is like, okay, good. You're still going to do that. But now you're going to touch the people who's not on that app who need you.
Right.
And one of the first people is like, Evonn, you got to tap on that girl's shoulder. Okay. And let's get the ball rolling. So you're actually my first non-Rizzle member interview for the month of February. Black History Month just starting out. Like, this is too good.
I'm learning. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna get there. I know I have to get.
No, technically, look at it like this. You're already there. Okay, you're already there. You just have to do the necessary steps for you to like make it work, to proceed. But you're already there. Okay, just look at it that, and that's the way I approach things. Like when my thoughts come to me, and like I said, God and my spirit guys, they don't leave me alone. Okay, these spirit guys are it. They don't leave me alone. Okay, so when they come at me, I just be like, okay, once I get it, I understand what it is. Just look at it as you're already holding complete. You already reached your destination. You're working from the destination, and you're gonna put the necessary steps in process. That's all it is.
I like that.
But you're there. But you're there. It's done. Like for me, when I did the conference, I had already envisioned the conference being complete, like people speaking and everything. And that's how I knew exactly who to pick, like who would be perfect. Because and that's just how it happened. And that's how you came along.
You were like the first person that was not, I guess you could say, like in my circle, because I had happened to come across your page, and I'm like, I can talk about this here, and it was weird. It was, and then from there, and again, I thank you, and I thank God for you, and as long as I can, like you say, celebrate you, I will. You know what I'm saying? Because I just like where you're going with things.
Thank you.
I
Thank you. I appreciate that.
admire you in a lot of ways, and no matter what, when I talk to you, I'm kind of always educated just a little bit more. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always good stuff. It's always good stuff. So I mean, you all right. You're all right.
And you're all right too. Oh my God, I love it. So do you guys have any questions? I know we've been talking back and forth, but I want to interact with the audience here, everybody who's on board. Thank you so much for being on. Please, if you have any questions for either me or Evonn, anything that you want to know about us personally, being an author, starting a podcast, the Five Boys Women's Health. If you're a man and you want to, ask questions about men's reproductive system, we could try to answer this to the best of our capacity. But by all means, I want to interact with all of you and have you come out with whatever it is that's on your mind at this present time that we could share and highlight on the show as we're going on. But I know I didn't mention each and every person that came through on the live tonight, but it's a full house. We were in double digits for a while. It's so many different people here. But I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys, and I appreciate everyone for coming through.
Sorry.
As we wait for these questions or comments. Oh, you want to know about the organic sanitary napkins? Okay. So the organic sanitary napkins, that company is actually not really in existence right now. They're pretty much working out everything. But I have a connection that if you connect with me, like through my Instagram, through here, we could like talk about it. But they're organic pads, basically. what they have, they don't have any of that bluish thing that you would see on the pads. Like there's no chemicals. Um, and they actually educate you by decomposing the pad to let you know exactly all that's there. I've been using those particular sanitary pads for years. Let's say I had my surgery in 2016. Right when I was in recovery is when that company broke out. They came out that time. Until today, I'm still using them. But that's because like I racked up on so many and I used to sell those pads as well. So as I was selling, I was actually racking up for myself. So I used to buy them in bulks and I still have them till today. And it's just the best thing ever. But I can connect you with a substitute company. Just connect with me through my inbox and I could help you with that. Now, GQ saying, geez, my wife and I need to eat more organic food. Yes. And you know, one thing I want to say about organic, okay, let's make it clear. When we say organic, like we all come from a different country. United States is based on everybody coming from somewhere else. And those of us who come from the Caribbean, we know what true organic is really all about because we have that in our country. You know, I have a Haitian background. My family's from Haiti. You know, we have people who come from Jamaica, from Trinidad. You know, you guys know what organic is because organics is what you have at home. Okay. Basically, the basic education that you know about foods back at home is what you need to implement here. Like me, I make my own spices. And that is something like I make them, we call it épices. It's very greenish because it has scallions in it. It has fresh garlic. Everything is fresh. Fresh garlic, fresh scallions, fresh parsley you could put in there. And you add like a little bit of lemon juice. You put it all in a blender and you make a big jar. Okay. And it'll last you for, I don't know what your cooking habits are, but for us, we cook like a lot, but it still lasts us like 2 weeks, you know, per se. And then we make a new one, you know. The powder stuff, we really do not utilize it at all. We don't do powder salt, okay, that sprinkling salt on food, that's a no-no, you know, stuff like that. You try not to do those things. All these white sugar induced type of foods, like, you know, if you're gonna eat like a pasta, condition yourself not to have it every day. Okay. When I was little, the condition that I had was every Saturday was spaghetti because that's what my grandmother cooked. Every Saturday was spaghetti. Just like, you know, that was lunch, spaghetti. Like every Saturday morning was pancakes. And when I say pancakes, it was the thick pancake with the white flour. Okay. My cousin and I, we had like 3 to 4 packs. Okay. Stack up, corn syrup, mind you. Okay. And we were just like, in due time, I couldn't do that anymore. Right. All those things contribute to your health. All those things contribute to your condition. All those things contributed to me having fibroids, you know, and I didn't know that. And we were doing this for a long time, okay? Like I said, like, you know, if you're going to eat red meat, we're not saying not to eat red meat because some people just don't eat meat at all. That's fine. But if you're going to eat red meat, have it occasionally. Not let it be an everyday thing. Like for us, red meat at one point, back when my grandmother and my great-grandmother were around, it was twice a week, every week on the same day. Okay? We have a dish in Haiti that's called griot, which is basically a pork dish. Okay? I'm sure you guys heard of it. You know, it's really good, but it's not healthy. Okay? And we used to have that every week. Now, that is a dish that we do occasionally. If we're having a major event, you want to have that plate there and stuff. It's great. But now we ain't doing no events, so we ain't doing it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all those things. So we had to switch around and substitute now. I eat more seafood. I eat chicken, you know, but at the same time, it's how you cook your chicken. You know, the way we cook chicken as Caribbeans, It's not the way Americans cook chicken. That's not the same chicken you're gonna buy from the store, at a restaurant. The chicken that you're eating is not the chicken that we cook at home, because we clean it differently. We take out a whole bunch of stuff that is bad for you, okay? So when you guys say organic, it's not just going to, let's say, the organic store and picking up organic food, because that's also expensive, but it's how you treat your produce when you get them, how you clean them, how you clean your poultry, your meats before you actually cook them. You know what I mean? We're not talking about some cooking shows that we see on YouTube or whatever, where they're not cleaning the chicken. You guys know what I'm talking about. See, all those things contribute to health. Like you can't just pour hot water on meat, or pour cold water on meat and be like, that's it. No, where's the lemon? It has to be disinfected. You got to remove all that gulky stuff. It's a whole process. So, like I said, all those things, they contribute. Like I used to eat out a lot. Now I don't anymore. Because it cost me, almost cost me my life. And I used to consume a lot of fast food, because between going to work, going to school, being out most of the time, going on dates, just hanging out, chilling, it's easy. Go here, pick up this, go here, pick up this, order that, boom, boom, boom. Consuming salt, consuming junk, sorry to say it, but it is what it is, It just doesn't help at the end. So that's the whole thing about that. Let me see if anything else. Spices are different, cleaning different, how you cook them is different. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, just like fish. I would not really eat fish outside unless I know who cooked it. Because there's a whole thing about fish that if you don't scale the fish and take out all that's good from the skin, you're just like, just sign yourself into a hospital right then and there. Because if you do it, it becomes a habit, then you're gonna be like, you're gonna get sick eventually. And you're not gonna know exactly what's gonna make you sick. That's why there's so many different cancers out there. That's why there's so many different conditions out there that people get. And the hardest part is just, the easier part, I would say, is the prevention, but it's also the hardest part because people are not thinking the way that we're thinking. And we're thinking the way we're thinking right now is because we've been through stuff.
Right.
And we don't want to go back. See, that's a whole different story. But had we not been where we were, basically, and now for us to come and give our testimonies, maybe it would be different. I don't know. Because I know a lot of people, like you said, you got to be taken out of your comfort zone. You have to suffer in order for you to really get the utmost awareness, like the divine awakening. And once you get it, then you're like, you know what? I need to make these changes because it's costing my life. So that's the whole thing. Hi, Swasti Media. He's always coming on. Hot Sauce Empress, Peter says, great information. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. You're so welcome. So happy that we're able to do it, and it's very lively the way we're coming at it. Let's see. Anybody else? We're good on time, 9:15. We have a lot of positive comments here for you, Evonn. A lot of encouragement here.
Oh.
From Beyond Blessed for Life. Is that Tiffany?
Yeah, that's Tiffany. That's my sister best friend.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for all the encouragement, motivation, and inspiration. So when is the podcast supposed to come out?
I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row. I would like to record first and then tell people, because I know I'm going to try to walk out of it. That's just my biggest thing. But I want to say by the end of this month, there will be, I think I want to try to do it either twice a month or 3 times a month. I don't know yet. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't want to run out of things to say. So hopefully by the end of this month, there will be content. And I like the app because you can add music. Yay.
You went on the Anchor app, like I told you?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, get out of here.
And I've
All
been
right,
playing,
awesome.
around with it. And I think some of the topics that I have and the music that I'm able to use, to me, it blends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
another form of encouragement. But question, can you, when you're doing the podcast, can you invite someone to talk with you, or is it just them hearing you speak?
You could have someone on there with you as well. There's a link to invite, and you
Okay.
could send that to people. Let's say like if you want to have a show, like we're having a show live here, you want to have a show, but I guess they're not going to see you because it's radio, like
Right.
podcast, like right. So you could do that as well.
I don't know if I'm ready.
Oh, so I see. All right. Thank you so much. Now I know how to say it. I'm always watching up his name. Woo, thank you, bro. You know those Instagram names. I don't know. But yeah, you could do that. But what is going to be your niche though? Like I know you're going to talk about women. I know you're going to highlight on um the women's health, but what is the main purpose, your main niche?
I think for me, well, you want me to like list some topics that I'm talking about? You want me to list them?
Like for me, my main niche for, let's say, my podcast started with women's health primarily. And I focused on bringing out the whole situation with fibroids, and then I moved it to YouTube.
Mm.
So that's my niche. Women's health, women empowerment, primarily, we talk about fibroids, but it's all around women's health. So I could talk about anything related to women's health.
Mine would be mostly one topic that's very near and dear to me is sexual abuse.
Mm,
One thing that I kind of know a little all too well. It's painful, but there's a boldness that I have when it comes to it. There's
yes.
tenacity that I have because I don't stand for it. I try to understand humans on the level of where could it have been prevented. And I guess you could say from 2020 to even to now, like I'm home in a sense, but I had time. And
Yeah.
as I'm thinking more about people and my childhood and different types of abuse, I started to kind of dig a little bit deep inside. And that's some scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know I want to be a better mom. So I guess my avenue would just be like, I don't know, it wouldn't be self-empowerment. It would just be just being aware of different types of abuse, because from your childhood stems a lot. And again, we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about things. We're so conditioned to be in certain environments that they just become the norm. Then we grow up and we create the same cycles, and those cycles can be broken. We don't know it if we don't know it, and we don't even know how to get out of it if we're in it, because it's like, oh, that's just life. And it shouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
No one. We are going to suffer. I've learned that everyone has to suffer, but there's some sufferings where it doesn't have to be that long. And while you're in it, you don't have to hurt yourself too bad while you're in it. Um, it's a lot of young people and a lot of adults that deal with addiction. I'm learning so much, and it's all the root of. So
Yes.
if we get to the root of a lot of things, even if people don't want to claim it, if you just hearing something and it resonates with you, hopefully that little crumb, you'll take it, and you'll go forward. My podcast is going to be for the people that can't speak up, don't want to speak up, are ashamed, are afraid. But hopefully something they hear gives them the strength of, even if they don't do it this way, that they'll be like, you know what? It was my childhood. I'm not my past. I'm not what my mom said I wasn't, what my dad said you know what I'm saying? It's just, I want to talk to the broken, and I want to empower the broken,
Absolutely.
because you don't have to stay broken. That's my
Yeah.
thing. That's my thing. And that's a good
Your
question.
platform
I
is
didn't think
is
about it yet.
not that no, your platform is not that different from mine in so many different ways. I mean, basically what you're going to be talking about, if I could break it down, it all stems with self-love journey.
Mm,
Okay? Bringing awareness to yourself, speaking your truth, right? And then in correlation with that, you want to implement things that are related to women's health because you've been an advocate for that because that's been your story. And at the same time, you want to also implement where sexual abuse has been a factor, primarily because you're concerned and and it's a story that is near and dear to you. So somebody said healing. Yeah, that's another form of a healing ministry. Like I said, my talk about fibroids, faces of uterine fibroids, it's a healing ministry. You know, she writes and speaks the truth, which is this platform right here, is a healing ministry. I mean, every time we
yeah,
come here Tuesdays and Thursdays, you got people giving their testimony and telling you about what they went through, that's sharing their story. Hey, it's healing.
it is.
Because listening to one another speak about their truth is nothing but healing. Okay. And we learn and we pick up and we're like, you know what? It makes you think. Maybe you could like go do something afterwards. It gives you motivation. It gives you inspiration.
I was about
I
to say
mean, and
this,
we constantly at it,
and it gives you
you know?
confidence, and then it makes you
Yeah.
feel that you're not alone. And sometimes people make choices because they feel like they're alone. They make not the
Right.
best choices because they feel like they're alone. And you don't. Like I said, everyone's going to suffer in their own little way, but you don't have to suffer by yourself. You know what
You
I'm
know.
saying? You don't have to
So
hurt
do
by.
you have a name for your podcast yet?
I've been playing with two names. I'm still weird. It's like I want to say it, but I don't know yet. I'm doing the toss up because
Okay.
I
But you're
like,
writing them down.
if you saw my book, you would be
So
very,
that's a yes. Good.
I got markers, I got post-its, I got
Because the
and
reason why I asked this, because you know I'm a certified vision coach as well, okay? Because everything that you write down, you bring into existence automatically. That's like the first point, okay? So I'm glad you're writing it down, you know? So like that, it could become visual and
yes.
you could see it before you and you could add stuff, you could remove stuff,
Hmm.
bring it to the most clear vision for yourself, and then that's it.
I
You're
told
the right track.
I told you I'm learning because and it's not even like if she can, I can. I didn't want to have that type of attitude. It's like knowing you have something in a box and you don't know what you're supposed to do with it. And I'm always praying, God,
Yeah,
what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I feel like he's like, if I don't already showed you, but then it's like I'm afraid. So then I get uncomfortable or I'm put in situations where I get pushed to do, it's like, God, I don't want to get popped on my hand. If you got to do it, just don't make it hurt. But you can't tell God what God is going to do. That's one thing yeah.
yeah, because you're not in control.
And that's hard for me. But I also,
Yeah, but that's part of the lesson, though.
yes,
Relishing that, control, like self-control, like just chill, relax, and trust the process. Allow things to unfold.
my whole life, I thought I had some type of control. I'm very assertive, I'm very opinionated. But last year till this time right now, I realized I had no control over anything at all.
If you
At all.
don't, just don't. Like everything that I do here, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's not me. If I were to choose to do that, I wouldn't have picked that. Trust me, I'm called to do something, and through obedience, I do it.
Well,
And that's how I'm committed to it because I know that this is what I was called to do. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to get on that level. I am on that level. I'm just not saying
Trust me,
the words.
it will come in due time, like drinking water. It really will. Same thing with faces of uterine fibroids. You know, I was just like, when the idea came to me to actually write that book, to start that anthology and put people together to share their stories, I was in recovery.
Mm.
right after surgery. And all of these thoughts, everything. I was in bed literally with a notebook next to me, and I would just like write stuff. I could not do anything else. I was
Mm.
just in bed, just write, 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 write. And God speaks to you.
I keep pushing things aside, hoping like he didn't notice, but God noticed. He know. And so and then it get
Let me
called
tell
up.
you, you could push things aside all you want.
I know.
It's gonna keep haunting you, keep haunting you, keep haunting you to the point it's like what are you gonna do? That's how happened to me, how I ended up on that Rizzle app.
Mm.
I've been told that I need to be doing videos for a long time. Okay. And the only videos that I actually had was when I was actually being interviewed by other people, you know, and
Mm.
basically I did the interviews, and then that's how like I had type of, stuff, but I didn't have anything of me that I created. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
people who captured me speaking somewhere and they sent me a video and they did that, but it's never something of me, like my product, although it was my product, but it's not like I created this video to deliver to people. God
Right.
wanted me to do that. You know how long they were like, focus on your YouTube, and I was just like, yeah, 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 yeah. Now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing it. You know,
Oh, I hear you.
you know, to the point where I'm at a point where I had to learn how to really make that happen. I learn about YouTube, learn to see how it's working, like just like lives. For a long time they're like, do lives, do lives. I didn't want to do any lives. They're like, oh, do lives on Facebook. I'm like, not Facebook. Oh my God. I don't want to be there. Like I had an opinion about everything. And you know what? I was not comfortable on Facebook to do lives. But
Right.
then I'm like, you know what? It keeps coming at me. Let me see exactly where I could find myself to be comfortable to be able to do it. And then that's why Instagram came,
Well, this is
you
just
know.
still weird, knowing where to look and blink and stuff. And I'm like, but
No, it will come to you. Trust me. It will come to you. You have to allow yourself, like you have to relinquish the control, give up the control. So you have to allow yourself to be led. Once you allow yourself to be led, you know that everything that you're doing is spirit led. That's why when people ask me, like, how do you figure this? How did you do that? I'm like, it's spirit led. I'm being told, do it, and I just abide through obedience. That's it. No
mm,
buts, no ifs about it, because it's not me.
right.
I'm operating through spirit. You get what I'm saying? You're on
Yes.
a whole nother level. Okay. It's not you in the flesh. You're on a whole nother level. And that's one thing that you have to train yourself to get to. But trust me, it's doable. If I'm doing it, a lot of other people are doing it, you could do it too. Okay. And you're on your way.
Thank you.
You're on your way. So on that note, I'm going to close it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. It was such a pleasure to be with you, Miss Evonn, again.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being so kind and staying connected with me. I mean, it's been a long journey. When you spoke at my conference, it was in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
yes,
was
yes.
2018.
My son was, he's going to
It's
be
been a
4.
long
Mhm.
journey. We've been following each other for a while.
That's,
But the beauty about it all is that we always stay courteous to each other, you
yes.
know, throughout our past, throughout our personal issues, whatever it is, because everybody got issues, who
Right.
doesn't? Like,
No, I hear you.
but we stay connected, and I love it. I cherish connections like that because those are the ones that are most valuable,
And
to you, to life, and you could always pick back on them anytime.
alrighty. Well, thank you for, like I said, you encourage, you motivate, and you educate. And for that, I'm most grateful. I can talk to you, and I always get good, positive feedback. And I'm, like I said, I'm just grateful. And thank you for not holding out on any secrets. I think about how I feel about certain things a lot more than I would like to admit. And I thank you for just always being just open and honest with me. I appreciate that the most. And thinking of me, thank you.
Mhm. No problem. But girl, I've been around the block a few times, right?
I know. And you're not about
So
people.
And with that being said, like I always keep it real, you know.
Yes.
One thing I could say, being in the game of women empowerment, everybody you meet is just not like me or just not as receptive.
Right.
But high and lows. There are gonna be some people you're gonna stick with, and there's gonna be some people it's just passing by,
Right.
But you just focus on your purpose. Just keep doing your thing, and that's it. Whatever comes to you will come to you. Whoever's supposed to stay with you will stay with you. Whoever's supposed to build with you will build with you, and that's it.
Right.
That's the
Thank
bottom line. So, Beyond Blessed for Life, good job on the first one for Black History Month. Thank you so much, and thank you for being part of the audience. Oh my God. It was so beautiful, educated on Black women. Thank you so much. I love it. Looking forward to having each and every one of you guys come back, come through. We're here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. EST, unless I say otherwise. But it's the program, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. EST. And we're going to sign off on The Martine Show. Take care. See you guys Thursday. All right. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.